meeting back to order. And under old business, we have a consideration to adopt resolution 2016-16, amending the water and wastewater rates.
Okay, it's 13. A resolution number 2016-13, read by title only, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Dora, Florida, pertaining to water, wastewater, and reclaimed water service fees, providing for water, wastewater, and reclaimed water service fees, providing for conflicts, providing for an effective date.
Okay, I'd like to...
If I may just
Go ahead.
as an introduction item, just to let you know, we've had 3 meetings regarding a review of the proposed water rates. These are structured with the resolution based on where we left it a couple of weeks ago, which is incorporating the option 2 that was 12.7% increase and a 12.9% increase as well in 2017. Plus, we incorporated the other miscellaneous fees associated that were discussed during the 3 different times that we had met to review the rates. So,
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
That's option 2, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
You wanted to do something?
Yeah, I'd like to table this because of the time constraints this evening, and make a motion to table this. I think we need to talk more about the line extension funding to the Innovation District versus just passing a blanket rate increase, to the citizens.
Is there a second for that? Second for the motion to table?
No.
Second.
There's already a motion on the floor, so... But that was seconded, so I'm trying to figure out which direction. Yeah, the first one was to approve the rate. And if it passes, then there's nothing to table.
Okay.
That was the motion that was by
And the motion
Mr.
to table
Wilson.
is not a priority motion, as I understand.
That's correct.
Okay.
So if you remove that motion, how about a motion to postpone? Because that is a secondary motion, so wouldn't that be in order?
It's up to you all to who's going to make what motion, but if you want to make a motion to postpone, then we'll go through that. Right now, we've got 2 different motions on the floor, both of which have been seconded.
Okay.
So a point of order is in order. That procedurally, we're going to do it the right way. We need to vote on that first motion. Now, we can certainly discuss that, and if the motion's defeated, because there's
I don't think it's the intent of the council to defeat the rate study. But I think if somebody wanted a motion, that was my error at that point, because Mr. Willett had mentioned earlier about doing it, and we're going to do it there, but thought we can do it after, but if it's a motion for postponement is in order, then I recommend that motion for tabling gets withdrawn, and the second also, so we can have the proper motion for postponement then.
that's probably the right way to do it.
Okay? Need to withdraw.
I'll withdraw that motion.
Table motion, and then the second also.
Yeah, and the second as well.
Okay. So, in order, if a motion for postponement is in order, at a certain, and I would recommend setting a date for any postponement.
Okay.
That'll,
Are we just throwing it out?
Let's, well, we haven't got a second to the motion, and I think it's out of order anyway, but that's okay.
So did he remove his motion as a point of...
I would move a motion to table, if we can make a motion to postpone.
So now we only have 1 motion on the table, and that's to approve option 2, I think it was.
That's correct.
So that's what's on the table.
So I guess, I'm reading right here, there's a motion on the floor, and then I would think it says that someone would make a motion to postpone with a date certain.
Right, all I said is the only motion on the floor right now is this one.
Yeah.
so,
So that's what you'd have to do, I understand.
motion for postponement with a date.
Well, we need to get the information from the city as far as the funding for the line extensions out there. How are we going to get the bond issue and stuff like that?
And again, real quick on procedurally, a postponement motion, Ms. Shepherd, correct me if I'm right, There's no discussion on the postponement issue, on postponement motion?
Actually, no. Let me just read this so everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
In Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, the effect of a motion, if adopted, is not to postpone the main motion, it's talking about a motion to postpone, but rather to prevent action on it for the duration of the current session. It can be used when the Assembly does not wish to adopt a motion, but explicitly rejecting it would perhaps be embarrassing, such as a motion to endorse a candidate for political office. The motion to postpone indefinitely is the lowest ranking of all motions other than the main motion, and therefore it cannot be made while any other subsidiary or privileged or incidental motion is pending. We don't have that situation. Because debate on the motion to postpone indefinitely may go into the merits of the pending main motion, to your point, it may provide members of the Assembly with additional opportunities to debate the main motion beyond the number of speeches normally permitted by the rules. It can be also used by opponents of a main motion to test whether they have the votes needed to defeat the main motion without risking a direct vote. If the motion to postpone indefinitely is defeated, direct consideration of the main motion is resumed, and opponents of the motion may then determine whether to continue their effort to defeat the main motion. There you go.
You're saying that the motion then has to be a motion to postpone indefinitely, is what you're
But
saying?
whatever you call it, it only works for tonight. Then it can be brought up at any time in the future.
Okay, so as long as there's no date...
Correct.
So you don't have to put a date on
That is correct.
indefinitely. Okay, because my interpretation of indefinitely means that it basically kills it if it's
For
indefinite.
tonight. It's not coming back tonight.
Okay,
Tabling would be the indefinite kill.
okay. So let's make a motion for postponement then, is what you need to do.
Okay, I make a motion for postponement of the Resolution 1613, establish water, wastewater, reclaimed water rates.
You need a second if you want to go that route.
Does he, as a point of information, do you have to say until our next meeting? Or, okay, then I'll second that.
Okay, there's no discussion on this issue, so...
Well, there is discussion if you want to have some. I just went through that. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, I'd like to have
Go ahead, Dan.
discussion as well.
I'll defer to you, Mr. Creel, I'll follow you.
Well, thanks, Mr. Olson. I know there's a sense of urgency that the numbers, the 12.7, probably more so than the 12.9, are predicated upon the rate increase taking place, is it April or?
April 1st.
And I think delaying would be a mistake because recalculations would need to take place and so on. I think none of us are excited about rate increases, especially of this size, but I think we have an obligation to keep the water wastewater fund in the black. I think the consultants have done an excellent job of presenting along with the city staff, and I'd like to vote on it tonight.
My follow-up to that is, I agree with everything Mr. Creel has said. We have been discussing this for, 3 months now? And the consultants have worked diligently to give us the numbers, and we may have to call our consultants back and have those refigured. And secondly, the April 1st deadline was intended, as I understand it, to be kind of a drop-dead date to have the numbers work, and without that, we need to restructure everything. And if we restructure it, what does that mean? Another public hearing or two, and all of those sorts of things. And we're still in deep jeopardy with our wastewater and water and wastewater fund. So I'm going to vote against the motion and proceed to adopt it.
Okay.
I concur with Mr. Creel is saying. However, it's a $35 million overall expenditure, and we're looking at $8.1 million for line extensions. I don't think the homeowners should be the ones paying for this line extension. The Innovation District out there, I haven't heard anything as far as businesses coming in there knocking on the door and, hey, we need water right away. Yes, we need to be ahead of the game. I agree with that. But I think that the people who are paying these water bills deserve to be able to have some other people's money funding some of these projects. That's all I'm asking for. Fund the line extensions. You know, no problem with raising the water bill to keep up with what we need, because it's been 10 years since we had a study done as to keeping up with expenditures. But I think $8.1 million is quite a bit to just to throw on the back of the homeowners. So that's why I'd like to have explained where we're going to get the money for the long-term line extension projects, you know.
Is that,
I don't know that that's germane to the motion, if the motion's merely to postpone.
well, we're discussing the motion right to postpone, the reasons, I guess, for the postponement, and I guess would be, so we'll have the, you know, if they want to.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Do you have any comments?
Well, my comment would be that in support of Mr. Rollett's motion is that while it seems inevitable that there's going to be a rate increase, we have had CPI adjusters, there's other things. I am concerned that if we take out the biosolids, that the amount that was not readjusted in this number, it becomes a contingency of sorts, and I feel that the number can be tightened. We're very close to budget season, and I thought maybe some more work could be done on looking at the water and wastewater fees. I don't know exactly what the overhead and interdepartmental transfers are exactly, and I know that maybe our new city manager would want a shot at that. During the interview process, I asked a question similarly, and he indicated that he sure would like to take a look at it. Now, I don't know if he was just being polite to my question, but at least the idea does sound good. So if we are going to have our faucets go dry, then I would, of course, not support that, but I think that postponing it for a meeting might offer us an opportunity to find some way to reduce the rate somewhat.
Cool. So, Ms. Stoll.
Well, I guess I would too like to have one more shot at this. It seems to me that there possibly could be other ways of funding some of this long-term capital where it can be, you know, amortized out over a longer period of time. These are things that are not going to be just, you know, they're not going to go out of service anytime soon. And we already have one, one loan that or bond issue that we're going to be asking for, and I'm wondering if we can put some of the rest of this into that and let people who are going to be coming into the city in the future absorb some of this cost instead of putting the whole banana on top of the current set of residents here. So I would not be adverse to postponing this for a short period of time.
Mr. Olson?
If I recall correctly, when this council last, or whenever we last approved the option 2, was it a unanimous vote by this council or close to it? It wasn't 4-3, I know that. I believe that. And so that would have been the time to start bringing this up. And now we are, as kind of the Johnny-come-lately, saying, well, we want to throw a monkey wrench into the entire process by postponing it. And I think, I understand the need to protect as many dollars as we can for taxpayers. We're all in favor of that. We have a system that is going broke, and we need to take some steps to fix it, and it's an exigent issue, and I'm not sure that postponing this, when we approved it last time to go forward with it and brought it before this council, and now we're going to delay it again, doesn't pass my smell test, and I'm concerned about that. I think we should vote in favor. I think we should not postpone.
All along, I've been talking bond issues from day one, square one. I thought this evening's meeting would have that in there. It's not in there. And that's where I'm at. I don't think that the homeowners should be paying for this large extension. Just, impact fees down the road, whatever. If the college was out there saying, hey, we're going to start building, we need the water, different story. But we don't have anything. We don't have anything in print. So why should these people be the ones doing the pipe dream thing, spending $8.1 million total between the two at this time. All I'm looking for is bond money. Somewhere along, and it was discussed briefly at the last meeting, but I didn't have anything on this
We
agenda.
weren't going to, and I'll tell you why when we get there.
Okay.
Look, this is the stone cold truth. Mike Shepard's telling me we got under $25,000 for an $8 million operation. If you remember the three presentations, it was reiterated time and time and time again. We have no cash balances, we have no renewal and replacement program. And I've mentioned it many times, you're going to be issuing between $10 to $14 million in bonds in early 2017, much of which is going to be for utility relocations. The other portion of it, as we experience growth, we structure the bonds so that as impact fees come in, they defray the cost that would otherwise go to the operating system paid by the existing users. So we do everything in these bond issues to ensure that it is as equitable as possible. But the $10 million that you're looking at for utility relocations, some system improvements that need to happen, are going to be for the benefit of the immediate customers, but we have no cash in the system. And nobody will issue obligations to us if we have no cash and no means of repaying the debt. And that's in part why we're doing what we're doing. We don't want to put a burden on anybody, but the stone cold reality of it is our system is flat broke and going backwards.
I have no problem with money going into the system. We all understand that. I agree with Mr. Crail when he was on the floor here. But the bond issue was discussed, but nothing, no action. And I don't know how we can break it in half. If we could do our operating costs now and then do the line extension as a second part of this, next council meeting, whatever it is, to get the answers to something we talked about for the last month.
How do we do a bond issue when we need to convince the rating agencies that we have money and we haven't passed this ordinance? We can't get the money. We won't get the bonds.
So there is a slight dichotomy that way also, Mr. Roulette. So I understand where Mr. Roulette's coming from. You know, he's got constituents, and we're all struggling. We know there's going to be a rate increase, and I know what we approved was not approving the rates. We approved a structure, how we wanted to look at it, and that was to go on to the two-year option or two-year phase-in, which is agreeable. Mr. Roulette has I think some valid questions. My only concern about maybe some of the items that were on tonight's agenda was, do we wait for some of these, can we wait a week or wait a meeting for our new city manager to come in and take a look at a couple items, and maybe let Mr. Roulette ask some questions and get comfortable with what he wants. But I'm just a thought, okay?
I will tell you, I'm insulted with that. And I'm going to tell you why. If I can be an emergency
No.
manager somewhere,
Hold
I think
on.
I understand how finances work. And just so there's some clarity, and I'll calm down for a minute here.
Please.
Let me make it abundantly clear. When you issue bonds, you cannot put that in your operating fund. That's what city managers go to jail for. When I sign a part of the documentation, it goes for the specific construction projects that it's earmarked for. It cannot go in for operating. So what the action we're asking you to do is to help build up the operating reserves as well as the renewal and replacement. Yes, we have to issue bonds in the future, but they are primarily going to be for the utility relocations and some necessary system improvements.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How hard is it to, in 2017, reduce the amount of the increase? So how hard is it to say we approve this tonight and then reduce the amount of the increase based on more current data that we have for a half a year or a year?
Okay, on the question you're asking, these rate studies, you have to do a whole nother rate study to probably go into the whole structure again. What you're approving now is a rate study that was done based over, set these rates to bring this money. Now, down the road, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you want to do another rate study where you look at the rates, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think at that point, you're just going to say you're going to need some more money at that point. Hopefully not, but they'll probably want more money at that point.
My question was really, instead of 12.9, would it be down to 10 or 8 or whatever? How hard is it to do that?
2 years, you're going to be stuck with those rates over the 2-year period, okay? Then it's going to go to the other rate structure and that's going to be what your rate structure is going to be until you have another rate study. And this is what my interpretation is.
Absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, based on Mr. Pastou's comment, I want to be thoughtful on this table. I'm going to change my mind and say that I won't support waiting. If we're down to, I don't know, variable quarters in the sofa, then we need to act. So,
And I'm fully aware of what you're saying, about the bond money is going to go into, if it's going operational, we're looking at operational. And I think maybe, I'm probably got a little confused on that part of it. But any bond issue that we do issue will be done in the future, and it'll be done by a council majority, again, to do any kind of bond issues or public, how we're going to work the bond issues. So there'll be good involvement at that point on any bond issue.
And I think,
Could that reduce the rate next year?
sure, good.
Yeah.
I want to cover it. I'm not trying to get away with it.
Just there's some misunderstanding.
Bond issue for...
The bond issue will not reduce the rates. They will not reduce the rates.
The rates that were given to us included issuance of bonds.
Exactly.
They included the issuance of bonds. Now, we can't do anything as far as saying, okay, we're the bonds, you're not going to do them until you're not going to issue them at this point in time. But in the future, you will. So that's all included in there. That money for those lines, for the different things, will be issued under a bond referendum at that point, or bond issuance, in whatever fashion it's going to be.
And just remember the basic ABCs of this. There will be no bond issue successfully passed unless this resolution passes, because we won't have any money. The rating agencies will say thanks, but no thanks. So that's the bond issue.
We will have a bond issue.
Okay.
That's what I'm after. I'd like to see that in the near future.
We had a really nice discussion on a rate study without having that motion on the, well, actually it is on the floor, so.
Well, the good news is, because we're on motion to postpone, as I said, debate can go into the main question, which is where we are. Right. That's okay.
Okay. So if we deny the motion, then we're back to the main issue, and then go ahead and vote on it at that point. And we had a nice discussion on, we'll bring the public up at that point. Okay. Okay, let's have a motion on the postponement of till the next meeting.
This is
I'll vote.
a yes vote will agree to postpone, a no vote will not postpone, and we'll be voting on the main issue.
You got it, right.
And no vote will not postpone.
Mr.
No
Rolette?
vote does not, wait, a no vote will not postpone it.
No vote will not.
No
Right, a
postponement.
no vote means most of postpone is defeated if it gets enough no votes.
Right.
One more time, I'm not hearing.
Okay, a no vote will not postpone, will not postpone the motion. A no vote will not postpone the motion.
Yes to postpone, no
To postpone, no to not.
No tonight.
Right.
No tonight. Okay, no to tonight.
Okay.
I got a hearing problem, sports fans. The military, for all you people who like to laugh at me.
Too many artillery shells. Yeah.
That's right.
Ready?
Yes, please.
Okay. Mr. Rolette?
No.
Mr. Slavy?
No.
Mr. Creel?
No.
Ms. Tillett?
No.
Mr. Rolfson?
No.
Ms. Rich?
No.
Mr. Jerome?
No. Okay. Now, we had discussion on that. We had a motion and a second on that. I'm going to ask the public to comment if there's any comments from the public on our water and wastewater rates.
Monique Richardson, 745 Hilltop Court. I was actually going to write something about this today because I didn't think it was going to be this difficult, so I didn't write anything. So real quick, you guys really need to bite the bullet, and you've blamed past councils for not taking action or doing anything at all as far as waiting 9 years for the rate study. I'm actually for option 1. That's just me. You're going a little bit conservative with option 2. Your decision, that's fine. But you're counting on those developments coming in here to pay for all of that. You're counting on that. These high-end developments, and I'm not talking housing, I'm talking commercial developments. Please don't count on that happening. You may not be here, and you're going to leave that hard work to future councils, and you're not laying a really good groundwork here, and you need to make those hard decisions right now. And I am for option one, although I feel you're probably going to go with option two, but thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Get back to council. Any additional comments? No. Okay, just real quick, I don't think this council ever blamed any other council. There's been procedures done in the past as far as our spending practices, and I think it was pointed out during the rate study that our biggest thing that has been done in the past, not blaming any one particular council or anybody, was the fact that our practice of using cash instead of using bonding in the past, and if we used bonding in the past, we probably might have still had a problem, but it wouldn't have been as bad as it is right now. And then I think the future, what we're looking at in the future is using the bonding in the right modes. And as far as development, any developments, if this rate study included developments and things like that, that's what this council's charged with these rates, with this rate study, and that's what we'll be acting on. And future councils, if they need to change anything with the rate study, then they can do that. They're welcome to do that in the future. But right now, let's say let's have a vote.
Mr. Rolfson?
Yes.
Mr. Creel?
Yes?
Mr. Roulette?
Yes.
Ms. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Slavy?
Yes.
Ms. Tillett?
No.
Mr. Jerome?
Yes. Okay, Mr. Tripp, you had a public art update?
Yes, sir, I do. At the last meeting, council requested that we post haste put together a draft ordinance which takes out only that portion of the existing ordinance imposing the fee or in-kind art contribution on site for commercial, or let me put it more specifically, non-residential. Excuse me. So that excuse me. And so that was done.